In this video series, I will cover everything which is I have learned from the Beyond XSS series of this amazing hacker called Holly. Right, I will cover everything, starting XSS browser security model, and starting with XSS for front end, and updating XSS a bit more, and everything. Literally, if you are starting to learn the JavaScript front end and everything, this blog series will help you a lot. But I am going to show and cover up everything what I have learned. So here you can see that this is basically operating system, which is here it is representing in black screen, and then upon this here you will see there is two applications, which one is, it can be your another desktop application, and this one is browser. So the difference between other application and the browser is browser can execute JavaScript, and your HTML, CSS and everything is going to parse inside the JavaScript. It contains a lot of parsers. So this is as straightforward. You can differentiate the other application from this browser. It is important to remember this point in order to understand why there are things that web frontend cannot do. It's not that I don't want to do it, but the browser don't allow me to do it. So this is a very necessary thing, because there are restrictions of the browsers where always it considered this thing is allowed. JavaScript can execute this thing. Let's say we will see that the file read from the system is not allowed directly from the JavaScript, and etc. So it's not that I don't want to, it's about what browsers allows me to do it. So make sure to keep in mind. And the backend server can easily perform file read and write up operations, but it may not be achievable in web frontend. Backend server is allowed to access your PDF file or whatever the file. Let's say I am going to open here a file which is a txt file. The backend is like this, copy and paste everything and you are done. But front end is not going to allow you in that way. The JavaScript has the restrictions to directly read this file, right? So it is not possible in that way. Here it is saying that, let's say we are going to see what is the prohibited calling systems of the browser mechanisms. Right, for the backend, it's the code runs directly on the operating system, which means it is just a regular application if there are no special permission restrictions. It can basically do whatever it wants. The whole machine is its playground. But there are some restrictions for the front end. For example, it cannot proactively read files and write files, but it can indirectly do that. Let's talk about what is possible. You can use input, and the type of input can be file, to allow you to render a file which is indirectly being read, right? So here you will see, I'm going to give you an example that I have learned from here. Here you can see that this is the input file, and its file type is type, and it is on change. It is there is an event which is called on change, and this is opening the file. And here I have just read it and get my hands dirty on this. Let's see how this is opening the file and how it is reading this file via JavaScript. And here is a browse option. Why the browse option is available here? So the reason is that because its type is file, that's why it is allowing. The input is an element of JavaScript. If you give it type password, it will become password. If you give it type something plain text, it will just be an input. If you make the type submit or whatever, drag and drop, you can also do that. So JavaScript and HTML is really fun to learn in depth. So here I'm going to just browse it, and I'm going to open my let's say this file, and here you can see it is reading the file by indirectly, not directly. Like I have already shown you an example where I have just dragged and drop. Drag and drop is allowing. Drag and drop means you are directly reading, but here it is not reading. What it is actually doing, it's inside the JavaScript function. Here is a show function which is being called when we are putting our file, because basically the file content is being dumped inside this input file, and then it is using the reader method of the JavaScript to read and store it inside the variable. And then reader.onload event, what it is doing, it is alerting the event target results, right? Reader then reading it as input file indirectly, not directly. So that's the point I want to make you here. So other thing that even using window.open file slash data.index.html will result in error. Here is an interesting thing why I'm going to show you that if we are going to use like window.open is a JavaScript function. Also fetch request is not able to make, we cannot bring this file which we have brought from our desktop application, this file which we are unable to make a fetch request to bring this inside our the browser, because fetch request is not allowed to bring these files. JavaScript has the restrictions. And if we try, let's say window.open, and then we are going to, here I am going to try to open my file console. I hope you guys are able to see it correctly. Yep. And here I will paste it, but I will make sure that I am going to give the correct path for my let's say if I just tried something, and here it is saying that from script denied permission, right? JavaScript can't load these files, the system files in that way. So make sure to not mess with these things, because these are browser security models and these are browser security restrictions which we can't do. The other thing, there are absolutely reasons why browsers have restrictions. What happens if front-end pages could directly read the files? This is a problem, because let's say we have found an XSS vulnerability somewhere on the page, right? We can directly call the etc password and read the SSH keys and read the configuration files of the system. It is pretty much bad, right? Sensitive information and everything, right? So that's too much bad. So that's why browser has implemented these restrictions in order to not allow these things. So an incident also happened in the past, like Renwa, who is a security researcher who did a research on the browser name is Opera. Here he was able to find local file read via stored XSS in Opera browser, which is pretty much bad. And you can read this report as well, and here you can see here it is popping an alert because of pinboard of some sort of feature which is available at Opera. And after that, here is a short video, you can see it as well. It is trying to read these local file, and Opera, and the protocol is pinboards. Opera pinboards, right? Opera it is using, and then it is clicking on the middle, clicking it, and here we go, you can see it.